Good evening and welcome to the Amarillo Mayoral Debate. I'm David Bradley and I'll be moderating tonight's event. There are 4 candidates for the office. They are, from left to right on your screen, Cole Stanley, Misty Collier, Jason Herrick, and Luke Marek. Now, the candidates have been briefed on the process. I'll ask a question and then each candidate will be given up to 1 minute to respond. We'll rotate through the 4 candidates so that each will have opportunities to be the first one to answer. Each candidate will also be allowed up to 3 rebuttal statements. After the responses to the final question, each candidate will then have 1 minute for a closing statement. This forum will last approximately 1 hour. The order for the replies to the questions was determined by blind draw, as are the closing statements. Mr. Stanley will be the first to respond to the first question. And that first question kind of just tees things off. What inspired you to run for mayor?
Well, let me start by saying thank you to this station and all the people that are educating our voter. It's a privilege to live in a community where we have such highly educated voters. So we don't have a dumb taxpayer here, and I was one of those complainers. So I've done business with the city for a long time as a builder and a developer, and I didn't just want to complain about not being able to get through building safety or having an issue on the job site. So I decided to run for City Council Place 1. It was an open seat, and I really felt led to do it. And you know, I swam myself all the way back out here, and it's too far to swim back now, so I just keep going.
All right, thank you. Ms. Collier.
I'd just like to say, thank you for all the candidates. I really appreciate anyone that wants to get involved. I've been involved for 2 years and been trying to let the people know that their voices need to be heard and that they're a part of this community too. And that's really the main reason why I decided to run, was so that all of the citizens' voices can be heard.
Thank you. Mr. Herrick.
Well, I'm really running for my kids, Landry and Ian and Claire. I want them to have a place that they can come back and they can grow and they can thrive and they can flourish. And I'm hoping that they can come and have their own families here at some point. And we've got a lot of things that we need to go solve in order for that to happen. And we know we've got issues out there. We've got roads that need to be worked on, and we've got a wastewater treatment plant we've got to go work on. We've got, we've done a lot of stuff where we've destroyed some job creation. Those things have to be really looked at. And, I also appreciate everybody that's up here. I'm not a politician, but I do think that I'm a problem solver. And we've got some big problems that we need to go work on. And so I'm excited to get into this and start working on the things that I think Amarillo really wants to go see get done.
All right, thank you, Mr. Herrick. And Mr. Marek.
Well, I decided to run because, really just to throw my opinion out there. I've lived in the city I've lived in this city my entire life, so I know it like the back of my hand, and I'm familiar with a lot of issues, no matter what part of town you're from, and I feel like I could apply that.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to the next question. Ms. Collier, you'll get this one first. What do you believe is the mayor's most important role?
The most important role for a mayor is to make sure that the citizens are being heard. We are the last line of defense between the citizens and the corporation, and that is the most important thing. So we need to make sure that the corporation is doing what they're supposed to do for the citizens. They're number 1 in the charter.
All right.
Amen.
Mr. Herrick, what do you believe is the most important role for the mayor?
Mayor is a role that is obviously really unique. You're only 1 vote on a 5-person council, and so that's you don't have any more say in anything. But you do have a really important role to make connections within the community. And I think that's really important, to be drawing more people into it. That's people that are involved in the community, but it's also involving getting connections with groups that are outside and bringing them in. That's how we bring jobs in. That's how we bring in new companies. And what we can't have is a situation we have now where we have one guy who's running the situation out there. And we can't just have a pay-for-play system where the number 1 person that's my donor gets put into place. We've got to build a bigger tent. We've got to get more people involved, and that means making connections across our entire community.
And Mr. Marek, what do you believe is the mayor's most important role?
I believe a mayor's most important role is to, well, make the citizens feel heard, but like you guys have said, also to help grow the city and in multiple ways in terms of residential and business growth, whether it be local business or large businesses, because they both help us.
Okay. And Mr. Stanley?
Yes, so a really good question, and I think a lot of the time the mayor is misunderstood in what your actual role is. It's not a ceremonial position. You're a worker and you are an elected representative, and so your number one role is to help set the vision for the entire city, and you do that primarily through the budget. We get to run a $500 million budget, and that is massive in where you can prioritize, like we prioritize public safety, where you can push money through to infrastructure, get to all of those things. Most of the way that you're gonna say have your voice heard as a taxpayer is where that budget is being spent. And so the budget is your number one priority, and we focused on that as soon as we got in there, and I think that's probably where you've seen the accountability that Mr. Herrick's talking about, where there is some pushback, because not only are we running our budget, but we're making sure those other budgets that are out there are being ran well in addition to what we're doing.
All right. Move on to the next question now, and Mr. Herrick, you'll be the first one to respond to this. As mayor, how do you plan to be actively in touch with those groups of people who are in different age groups and backgrounds from you, or who live in a different part of the city, and be able to address issues that directly affect them?
Yeah, this comes down to an element of communication, right? And I think this is a really critical position that the mayor has to have. We would start immediately with listening town hall sessions that are across all of the different areas, and that can't be in just one area or any other area. We have to start taking those out to the folks that are out there and letting them communicate with what their issues are, but also be sharing what's going on. So we need to take a much more active role in doing that. The second piece is that we've done a really poor job, I think, of getting out in front of issues that they've come up, and we have the communication tools and the technology to be able to do that. There's no reason that when we have a snow event that we shouldn't be able to tell folks when their streets are going to get cleared, when they're going to have their alleys cleared. We have all of that information. We have a responsibility to be getting that information to our citizens and getting that in front of them. We have that out there, and we need to be taking more advantage of it. And right now, citizens are playing guessing games about when the services are going to be, or when things will get done, or when their big projects will get taken care of. Let's get that fixed.
Thank you. Mr. Mark?
Like he says, I think a big thing is bringing it to the people. We should do more events at like public parks, and to get younger people involved, I think we should do more things online as well. But mainly, my big thing is I would miss a lot of town hall meetings because I just didn't know when they were. And I feel like we should have a good way to alert people and to what's happening and when.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stanley?
You know, so when I got elected, I put my cell phone number on the website, and it's still there today. And so I'll tell you, the number one way that you show that you are approachable and available is you allow people to access you directly. There's no buffer down there, and there's no end to the needs or the complaints or the wants. And so you can't address everything in a town hall and set expectations. The way that you have to do that and to have good relationships that you can build on is not only do you have to be willing to listen and say, I hear you, but then you've got to be in a position where you can say, as a leader, here's what I can do. And as your mayor, here's what I can't do. Like if we don't have a budget for it, or if it's not something that's in my role, then I have to be up front and have that personal one-on-one engagement. I have seen the best outcomes in being present. Showing up to events, even showing up to read a book at an elementary school means more than you would think.
Thank you. And Ms. Collier?
That's actually part of my our Liberty. I would like to have more community engagements. We actually have very good groups here in Amarillo that utilize having small businesses come and do meetings. I just think those things need to be promoted more. We need to get out there more in the community. Nothing against my other candidates, but they also have other jobs, so I do feel like I have more opportunity to do that than they do.
All right. Thank you very much. Any rebuttals want to be taken at this point? All right, we'll continue forth. Mr. Mark, you'll answer the question first this time. As our city's population increases, the supply of affordable housing is shrinking. What could you do along with the council to help developers and the city address that shortage?
I think something important we can do there is mixed-use zoning, especially along our major roads, so that developers have more choices on how they develop their property, whether they want to whether they want to make apartments or a business, or even both on the same parcel. And another thing that holds us back, I think, is our parking requirements. Many of them are kind of arbitrary and unnecessary, and it's a big barrier to entry for smaller developers. And that's not to say we want to get rid of parking, because, for instance, the Buc-ee's they just built only require six parking spaces. However, they have built a lot more than 6. And I think that it should be up to businesses to determine how much parking they themselves need rather than a piece of paper.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mark. Mr. Stanley.
Great question, David. And so the way that we are looking at growth in the city and prosperity, which is steady, continual growth, is we're going to choose here, and this council has chosen, are we going to grow with the developers and those people that are responsible to deliver affordable housing, or are we going to grow against them? And what you've seen historically is the city as an entity is telling developers when they're ready to annex their property, you need to pay for everything, we're going to increase your cost, we're going to require you to put things in, and then we're going to adopt those in, and then we're going to charge you to use them. And so that doesn't function. Those developers have consistently chosen to go outside of the city limits and build less dense housing, between Amarillo and Canyon. You can see that that is the nature of that growth. A municipal utility district, the hybrid MUD model that we have, it'll get voted on next Tuesday at council. It will get passed. It allows for those builders to be reimbursed for those bonds that they take out for that infrastructure that we're going to use to provide services to you. It's a fantastic way to grow, and I'm thankful we acted on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley. And again, the rebuttal can be if you said, oh, I've got one more thing that I forgot to add, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a counterpoint to another one of the candidates' questions. Mr. Stanley, I think we're back to you now to start the next round of questions. Oh, go right ahead.
We haven't answered yet.
Oh, see, I told you guys before. I told you
I'll
guys
get to the
before
rebuttal
this
next,
was
but
going to happen.
yeah.
I told you that was going to happen. Go right ahead.
Misty's up.
So I would like to commend Mayor Stanley. He did set up a sunset program. Although I do disagree with MUDs, I think it is government overreach. I would like less government, more people. But on his stance for the sunset, it does eliminate some red tape. I would like to go further with my RRR Liberty. I'd like to take us back to the Texas Constitution and then rebuild from there. I think the citizens of Amarillo could actually do a better job than a copy and paste program from the UN.
Thank you. Again, my apologies. Mr. Herrick, go ahead.
No problem. Thanks, David. So here's the problem that we're facing now is this is a great idea, the MUD districts that Mr. Stanley's talked about. But the problem is we are pushing more and more people out of the city. We continue to do this and push people to the outskirts of the city and failing to invest in the inside of the city. We've got sewage systems that are in the city that are over 100 years old, and we keep failing to go fix those things. And the problem is then you have your neighborhoods within the city actually falling apart. And so, yeah, we're setting up great things where we can go attack the utility costs and those things, and we can push those on to the developers and get our reimbursements that way, and I think that's great. But we are skipping all of the inside-out growth. We have to refocus ourselves on making sure that we bring everyone along in this city, and that means areas of this city that have been frankly overlooked. They have old infrastructure, bad infrastructure, and if we don't get those things fixed and start reinvesting into our neighborhoods, we're losing population. That's why we're shutting down elementary schools, we're shutting down areas, because we aren't investing in our own city inside the limits.
All right.
Can I rebut that?
Yes.
Oh, you go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Collier, go ahead.
I would like to go ahead and rebuttal to Jason. See, now I've lost it.
We'll let Mayor Stanley go, and then you can come back in just a
Okay.
second.
You good?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, go ahead.
You know, growth pays for growth, Jason, with MUDs. And that means that I am freeing up more money within your existing budget because those are revenues, sewer and water revenues, in order to keep that water bill low for that single mom with 3 kids at home that cannot have a $40 increase per month or else one of those kids doesn't eat lunch. Growth pays for growth through the MUDs, and it allows more dollars back into those older neighborhoods. Future councils will thank this council for this example of leadership.
All right. Ms. Collier?
Jason Herrick is big on the AEDC, so I have gone to the AEDC meetings several times, and that is one thing that they have absolutely forgotten is some of our smaller businesses, some of our unforgotten buildings that have been just left there with no one occupying them. And I feel like that was a big problem that was created by the AEDC. So as a big promoter of that, I would actually like to eliminate the AEDC, but I will give it up to the people to vote on.
Okay. All right, we move on to and now I've lost my place as to who's going to be starting with the next round here.
I took that one first, I
Okay,
believe, right?
that's what I believe. We're on Ms. Collier now.
Or was it Luke? No, Luke
think
took
it's-
that one first.
I
Yep.
think it's-
Okay, back to the
Yes, I
mayor.
did.
All right, the question is, how would you rate the city's transparency and communication with the public, and what ways would you like to improve that?
Let's be realistic. Out of like a scale of 1 to 10, previously, I think under a different administration, we were probably knocking up a pretty good 3. Right now, I think we took down the velvet ropes. We put public comment back in. We are approachable. We are very transparent. We're probably still at like a 7. There's more that we can do. My opponent here to my left, he's taken advantage of all of my transparency. You know, previously, Mayor Nelson spent almost $2 million with Norton Rose and Fulbright, a law firm, that pushed forward an illegal tax note that would have almost doubled your tax rate. Nobody ever said anything about them hiring an outside Austin-based attorney. But because I brought it before the council, I got it approved, I put it in the budget, and then I showed you every conversation we've had, what it was doing, what we were discussing, what he's been working on. We brought an attorney in who found $2 million in our existing budget and allowed us to revenue that to our police and fire officers, or our police officers and firemen. And so transparency is a work in progress. It'll never be perfect, but it's way better than it was, sir.
All right, Ms. Collier?
I would actually like to open up the books more, have more items itemized, and I think one of my biggest things is I feel like a lot of the citizens' voices are not being heard, so I have actually gone to Rich Gagnon. He is the IT guy for Amarillo. He's the IT guy for Amarillo, and I've discussed some things with him about maybe giving some polls and stuff that the citizens can take if they're not able to go to the council meeting, maybe moving the council meeting to a later time so they can come after work. I've discussed a lot of these things, and I'm hoping we can implement some of them.
All right, thank you. Mr. Herrick?
Well, Mr. Stanley likes to talk about the openness and transparency, but this is the first time in the history of the city of Amarillo that the city council has hired their own attorney. They've gone out and hired them to represent themselves against the city and against the citizens. And you're getting the privilege to go pay for that at the tune of that. So this is not the same equivalence, and it's a false equivalence to say, well, we hire outside attorneys. We do that all the time for expertise that we need. We don't do that to represent the city council against the city, and that's what's happening in this case. In fact, it's gone so far that the Hyde firm has actually recommended that these city council members go get their own email address, a private email address, so that they can actually hide information from the citizens. This is not okay. This has gone way beyond what is a normal situation. We're hiding important information from the citizens, and we've got to do something about it. That will be one of the first things, is to terminate the relationship with Mr. Hyde.
I would like to rebuttal.
All right, go right ahead.
With Jason Herrick being big on the AEDC, I can guarantee you that he will pay for outside counsel, and he will also get people from outside the city of Amarillo who make a lot of money, of your tax money, to do things for this city.
Okay. Anyone else like to make a rebuttal before I go to Mr. Merrick for his answer?
I would.
Okay.
And so the outside attorney is nothing new, and here's why. As an elected representative, you are resourced, and so this is just a resource. If I needed a medical consultant, if I needed an accounting firm, I hired an audit firm to do a forensic audit before we hired this attorney, and nobody that is paying attention in this town that's an educated taxpayer and voter thinks that everything has been above board. What you're saying, Mr. Herrick, is that we should be the only ones without an attorney. We should just have to listen to whatever the city attorney says to us, and then we should be disarmed. The push against it is just to disarm the council. It has nothing to do with the fiduciary duty of the $500 million that we've managed very, very well.
Okay. You can rebut too.
Okay, perfect. So I will. There is a big difference between hiring expertise for certain areas. Unfortunately, that's not what this council has done. What they have done is hired one guy to be their personal counsel against the city. They don't go through the city manager for that information. They go one-to-one. We're duplicative with what the services are that are being offered by the city already. And then on top of that, we've said this guy's going to be an expert not just in one of the specialty areas. He's an EPA groundwater expert. He's an expert on city charters. He's an expert on amendments. He's an expert on all these. It doesn't work like that. We can go find expertise. That's certainly okay. It's not okay what's going on right now.
All right, and Mr. Mark will give you a chance to answer the question as well.
Mainly, I think the most important thing for transparency would just be opening our books to where the public can see the accounting.
All right. Move on to the next topic. Ms. Collier, you'll be the first to answer this question. The city's currently in the search for a new police chief. If elected mayor, what would you tell the chief to focus on when it comes to crime fighting in Amarillo?
Well, one thing I'd like to focus on that I feel like the current city council forgot was the foundation by which the police station is founded upon, and that is the citizens that are behind the scenes. I feel like they need a raise, and I also feel like that I would hire a police chief that had a very good background in being a just police officer. Well, I guess we don't actually hire them, but I would give my opinion on someone that had credible background.
All right. Mr. Herrick?
Well, there's two main things that we really need to work on, and I'm sure we'll talk about the overall crime statistics. Mr. Stanley's talked about those, but part of the problem that we have is that we're seeing a major increase in drug trafficking that's going through our area. We are seeing a 50% increase in aggravated robberies, and we're seeing much more methamphetamine and fentanyl. We had collections that were 10 times what they were in the previous years. We've got to start working on building out our narcotics division, and I think particularly also we need to work on our mental health services. There's no doubt that we have that issue out in our community, and we're asking our police officers to do a lot of things in that area. And I'd like to see us use a better combination of the tools that we have out there to bring more folks in so that's not putting all of the burden onto the police force, but working specifically on providing mental health services so that we can get folks into a situation where they're not a threat to themselves and to other people.
All right. And Mr. Murray?
I think what would be important for our police is to find methods to really help the homeless people. It's no stranger that homeless is a growing issue in Amarillo and downtown, and I feel like we need to provide our police with the resources so that they can really help those people get where they need to be.
All right, and Mr. Stanley?
Yes, so we've come a long way. The $10,000 pay increases to each badged officer was huge. It increased our academy enrollment from around 70 to 200 plus. We're now drawing in those applicants that we need to be the future local heroes of Amarillo. The new police chief that we hire, he needs to be a hard-charging police officer. He needs to understand that the way that we tactically approach things in today's world is what we've got to focus on. So this is organized crime. This is cartel driven, and so the narcotics and the things that we see in human trafficking, sex trafficking, all of our violent crime statistics, well, I can't say all, but predominantly, we live in a pretty safe city, except for those areas that are, I'd say, gang related. And so these hybrid gangs don't operate like they used to, and so we've got to work more on the intelligence side, and we've got to have tactical operations, and I think a new police chief is coming our way that will take care of that.
All right. Anybody want to add anything else
I
to their
would like to
comments?
add
All right,
something.
go right ahead.
So I spoke with the lead criminal investigator about a year and a half ago, and I asked her what kind of programs they had for these particular topics, and they really didn't have any. So maybe we should create some kind of program where that could actually be addressed. I know Lubbock has, so maybe we could go and ask them what they did.
All right. Any other additions to that topic?
I'd like to advocate for some sort of bail reform. I haven't delved into the details, but from my experiences, that our bail system works differently than a lot of other counties, and I feel like that should be changed.
All right. Next question, Mr. Herrick, you'll be the first to answer here. One concern we here at ABC7 hear from the public quite a bit is the condition of some of the city's major streets. The stretch on Grand Street, southeast side over by the youth ball fields and the golf course kind of comes to mind. And then we also learned last year that there were several road projects in a bond election from several years ago that haven't been completed. Some haven't even been started. So what kind of priority would you place on getting that work done and monitoring the progress? Mr. Herrick?
Yeah, thank you, David. I mean, this is clearly one of the main issues that I've spent a lot of time talking about. I've gotten the same feedback that you have here at the station. As you drive around Amarillo, you are going to run into major issues with our streets and roads. And it's a combination of both the roads and the infrastructure and the sewage that's underneath it. And as we move forward, we've got to start working towards getting these things fixed and fixed in a timely manner. I certainly appreciate that the current council has suddenly gotten religion. We've had 4 years with Cole before we started really talking about infrastructure, but in the election, we're starting to talk about it finally. I think it'll be one of the really good things that comes out of this. And the biggest thing that we have to do is do a better job of communicating with people. There's no reason you shouldn't be able, when you report a pothole, you should be able to go to the city and see that that's been reported and when that's going to be addressed and when we'll get to that. The same thing with our major street projects that were out there. When are they going to get done? What is the priority? And we're going to do that. That's why in the first 120 days I'm in office, we're going to have a full infrastructure plan that prioritizes and addresses our needs and gets that in front of the citizens so that you know what's coming up.
All right, Mr. Mark.
I think that all those issues are critical. Like, excuse me, like Grand Street, for instance, it's more than just potholes that hinder the way we get around. That street has no sidewalks on either side, and that puts a lot of extra cars on that road, which in turn means we have to maintenance that road more often. So I just want to make sure that if we spend money on a roadway project, that it accounts for all people, and that we can maybe take some cars off the road and therefore save some money in the long term on road maintenance.
All right, and Mr. Stanley?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So I do want to address the $34 million in unspent funds. So it is important when Mr. Herrick says, you know, I've been here for 4 years. My first 2 years, my first tour of duty were under Mayor Nelson. And so keep in mind, you paid for those, you voted to approve those funds back in 2016. They could have gotten 3 times the amount of work done in 17, 18, and 19. Our road costs basically tripled. So we're not getting to near as much work as we could have. Why they didn't spend those monies, I'm not sure. But when I first went in and said, hey, I'd like to see all the receipts, I want to see how many roads we're not going to get to, we've got to communicate this to the public, I was told we had $6 million left. In my second follow-up meeting, it went to 16 million. And then by the time I got done digging, it's $34 million that they didn't pay down. Not to mention, this council had a plan in place when we first got elected, day one. $12 million annually built into your budget, didn't raise your taxes more than the 3.5%, and we had it taken care of. Why couldn't we fund on those? Our bond counsel said you can't do it because you still hadn't spent the money that you say you don't have.
All right. And Ms. Collier?
I would like to speak to that. I was actually at that council meeting and she did explain all that. So I appreciate the hard work that you've tried to do with what you have. But I would like to tell y'all that I am part of a nonprofit. It's called carestexas.org. What we do is we take waste and we turn it into either energy or diesel fuel. And they created dust, which you can help fix the roads with. And the company does do that, which I have given to the city, and we will be looking at that. Whether I am mayor or not, that will be there. So hopefully we can get all these things addressed.
All right, thank you. Anybody else like to? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Mr.
I'll
Harris.
just add one thing here. So I find it interesting that we talk about that the mayor is just one position on the council, and Mayor Stanley's been there for 4 years in this office, but we continue to try to blame people all the way back. It's time to start taking some responsibility that this just was not a priority. And it's okay to say it. And that's why last week, a couple of weeks ago, you had to come back and issue another $30 million worth of debt and interest to go do the things that didn't get done in the first time in the budget. And those will be items that are going to show up in August that we're going to have to deal with either by reducing other things or raise taxes again. And those were all going back towards infrastructure. We've taken money out of infrastructure to go pay severance payments for these folks that you fired. The city manager, the AEDC folks, all those folks are getting paid out of infrastructure dollars. There seems to be no problem in moving infrastructure dollars to their pet projects, but not doing the things that really people want you to go work on. That's what we got to start working on.
All right.
If I may, sir.
Go right ahead.
I appreciate you finally showing, the public your plan. You've said, vote for me, elect me, and in the first 120 days, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. That's a very liberal Democrat typical way to work. And so thank you for coming out here tonight and saying, I'm going to raise your taxes. We do not need to raise taxes. Our taxes are high enough, and we have plenty of money. I've identified tens of millions of dollars that are in our reserves that are not getting put into our CIP program. And yes, sir, it takes time to get that put out there and to also work alongside with staff.
All right, any other comment on this? While we're on this topic, I want to ask a question that I didn't originally have on my list. Mr. Herrick had mentioned it earlier, but one of the other major infrastructure needs that the city has got to address at some point is the wastewater system. Just wanted to ask around the horn on that, and we're just going to go with the same 4 that we did this past time. What is the plan for that, and how high of a priority? From what I remember listening to the city manager in charge of that, it was kind of sounded like a time bomb about ready to go off. So what is the pleasure of placing the wastewater treatment plant on the agenda?
Yeah, you have perfectly encapsulated that, David. It is a ticking time bomb. We've allowed this to go sit. It's an $800 million looming liability that we have now, and this council has refused to deal with it. We've got a situation now where we're already in an active monitoring situation. We've passed the thresholds that you start monitoring, and now we have 4 to 5 years before the Hollywood wastewater treatment plant can no longer take more water, and we'll have to get out there and do something else. And we're already so far behind the 8 ball. Now, Mr. Stanley's going to talk about, well, we've got some money to go do a plan. The problem is it's an $800 million project that we've got to go tackle. And what we haven't done is go figure out what the next steps are. So getting a $35 million piece to go do some planning, which, by the way, we don't have the money for yet, is just not going to get there. I mean, this is like going into a car shop and saying, hey, I need a $10,000 car, but I've only got $300 in my pocket. We still got to come up with $730 million and put a plan together to go do that. And we haven't done that yet, and there's plenty of options. There are options when you have been in the public market where you work with public-private partnerships, where you find ways to find money from reclamated water and methane. We can do those things if we get to work at it.
All right. Mr. Mark?
I think we should look at expanding the wastewater facility, of course, but we need to find a way to pay for it that's sustainable and will guarantee that we make enough money. Perhaps a new development in the area could help fund it, or maybe we could find some grant money from the state, or a number of other solutions.
All right, Mr. Stanley?
Yes, sir. It was a pretty bad field trip when I got out there, so 2 years on council, never hit my radar. Nobody ever mentioned anything about wastewater treatment or the need to do anything different. Went out there and definitely poor condition. My question to my voter and my taxpayer, how many decades do you think it takes for a wastewater treatment plant to get into the condition that it's in? My opponent may say that I've neglected it for 2 years, which is unique since we started with a flood in the first month. And the flood is what cracked some of the basins out there. And then working alongside of the Army Corps of Engineers, and yes, the Ronnie Jackson piece where we did secure $38 million, and we are already spending some of that money. Now it is a reimbursable expenditure, and we are finding those millions of dollars to do the planning. You can't go any faster with the plans, and then it's not $800 million, it's a $300 million problem out there on Hollywood. Now if we blew this thing up all around town and we had 3 plants, I think we would want the $800 million. Now if they're willing to pay for it, we'll take it. However, wastewater treatment's always been priority 1 since we looked at it out there. Public safety and infrastructure, and in infrastructure, wastewater treatment plan is the way that we need to grow. Without that, we're severely handicapped.
All right, Ms. Collier?
So I've already sat down with the city manager, and they already have a plan in place. They've already talked to, they already have engineers coming out. We already have, we sat down and talked to them about the wastewater because that's something that our nonprofit works with. And so there's already a plan in place. Now we may not know where we're gonna get all the funds for that, but there is a plan in place. It is going to be here. We are gonna get it fixed. That's just something I feel like everyone is forgetting to say at this table.
All right, any other comment we want to have before we move on to the next topic? Okay, the next question is regarding homelessness. It was touched upon earlier by Mr. Mark. We just opened Transformation Park, but the question is, are you satisfied with the effort that the city is making overall with the homelessness situation, and are there other ways you would like to see it implemented? Mr. Mark, you get the first response.
I'd like to see improvements in several ways. I think Transformation Park is a huge opportunity, and I'm glad to see it's built. But it's only one location in a very big city, or very sprawling city. So I think we should try to identify maybe 1 or 2 more spaces we can build something similar.
All right, Mr. Mayor?
Well said, sir. I appreciate the comment. Luke,
Thank you.
Transformation Park is a great vision. What you're seeing is just phase 1. So when you take 75 sheltered individuals and you can hopefully take care of 200 to 250 people over there, you're roughly getting a third of my point in time count. We are always going to have this problem. Our hope is to impact it and benefit those people that we can help. There will always be a section of your population that you are going to deal with, and so I can choose to take care of that on the back end and pay for police and fire as they light fires all winter and burn buildings down, or we can fund Transformation Park and other faith-based nonprofits that are out there engaging with this important part of our community. Transitional housing is next. The PrEP program, putting people back into the workforce. There's so much that we can do. It's not about how many people we can get into Transformation Park. It's about how many people we can graduate out of that.
Thank you.
Transformation Park is, sorry, I didn't.
No, you're good.
interrupt
Go
you. I
right ahead.
apologize. Transformation Park is actually a good idea. I hope that the concept of it works, and he is right, it does work in stages. I do believe that the mayor needs to go in and make sure, that everything is running the way that it should be. And I do think that they need to go in and talk to these people to make sure that they're satisfied with the results that they're getting.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Harris?
Yeah, there's no doubt that we have to be very serious about addressing the issue of homelessness in our community and providing a place that we welcome those folks, we keep them out of harm's way, and we continue to do things. I think it's a great step in this direction with Transformation Park. I really do. I do think what we need to be doing is doing a better job of connecting between the various homeless organizations that we have in our town. We do have a lot of different groups that are working in different capacities. Some are focusing on mental health, some are focusing on addiction, some are focusing on immediate emergency housing. All of those things need to be working together for the benefit of our community. That's really what a mayor should be doing, is making those connections so that we do the best job that we can and we get folks into the right situation, and whether that's job training or mental health services or addiction services. Those are the areas we need to get them to so that we can move them quickly and put them into being productive members of our society.
All right, thank you. Any other comment on that?
I'd like to add on to what you said about the missing steps for homeless people, and I think a big part of that is the affordable housing that we touched on earlier, because the last thing I want to see is for Amarillo to become like LA, where there's people who have jobs and make a good amount of money, but still have to live in their car and can't afford apartments. And I think we should invest in more affordable housing, whether it be anything from apartment buildings to mobile home parks.
All right,
I'd like to add.
Go right ahead.
I think we need to look into waste, and I think that would be a big part of what he's saying.
Like the trash and everything.
Well, waste, like making sure the funds are being spent
Oh,
the way
yes.
that they should be.
All right. Now we're going to go on to a topic that we've been familiar with over the past several weeks. The mayor and the council and the ADC and the Range, and for those who've heard the Range but maybe not, Regional Accelerator on New Growth Engine is what that acronym stands for. Mr. Herrick serving on the board of the Range. Wholesale changes at the AEDC resulted from that dispute, personnel and financial practices there. My question is to give me your opinion on what has been the net effect of that episode, both in public perception of the city and the business of growing the economy in Amarillo. And Mr. Mayor, I'll let you start.
Thank you for that. So the Range has been a hot topic. The AEDC, all economic development can be controversial. It's why an entity like that has to operate totally above board, above reproach. Because you are trusted in a lot of ways with, some confidential knowledge until things are here. You're just saying, well, it's Project X. What we saw at the AEDC was the refusal of a few people that had made an error, an unlawful transaction in funding the Range. And so $750,000 wire went to the Range. My opponent is the president of the Range. He's in possession of that public asset right now. That was quoted as seed money, and so the Range wouldn't be here without the AEDC's money. And so with that being in his possession, he also possesses the books, and I love the transparency that he's pushing for. So like myself, I've been very transparent with the legal fees. He has the opportunity to do one of two things. You could give us our position back on the board so that we can pull the books, we can see the checkbook, we can go through the computers, or you could just simply put all that out to the general public. We would love to see your financials and your bank statements and the front and the back of those checks. This has been an issue, not because we're making it an issue, it's because they won't come out and simply talk truthfully about it.
All right, Ms. Collier.
I would agree with that. There needs to be more transparency there. It is taxpayer dollars. With the AEDC, that is why I would like to actually take the monies back to the Amarillo budget, and then I would like to utilize it between the citizens and the council so that we can actually help small businesses, because the AEDC does not help small businesses. And the Range itself is a global entity. It is a global food hub. And I do not think it will benefit the ranchers or the farmers in the end process. I think it will actually hurt them. And so I feel like the global food hub is a bad idea. I wish that they would redo it and make something better out of it, because I think it can be better, but I don't think they'll do that.
All right. Mr. Herrick.
Well, we won't have a lot of time to get into this in a minute, but what I am tired of is this is a blatant lie, and we know it. You've looked at the situation. You know that this was an approved transaction and that it was part of the procedure that was followed at the time. And unfortunately, this is all a part to just confuse voters and really just continue to push the wrong message out there. Look, the range is a tool. It's an important tool for our community that goes out and finds dollars that we're competing for from other communities. And it's really the way that we go and bring dollars and resources back to our community. It's gotten so bad, and they've weaponized this so bad, that now they've gone so far, and they actually have gone down to Austin when we had $6 million that was going to come back to the city of Amarillo. He calls down there. Alex Fairley calls down. He talked about it, admitted it last week. Called down and had that removed from the budget. That was $3 million a year that was going to go to water and to wildfire resources and job growth creation. We have weaponized this so bad, and we're now doing this purely for political gamesmanship. This has nothing to do except trying to get another person into the mayor and keep control over this council. We're ignoring the facts, and the facts are out there for voters to go find out.
All right, I'm going
If
to
I could-
give you a chance to, I'm going to let Mr. Mark answer the question first, and then we can go to the rebuttal side. Mr. Mark, go ahead.
I'll try to
Tell
keep
us.
mine brief for you
You're
guys.
good.
I think it's important to add just a little more transparency so that anyone could see the books and do the math for themselves and make sure that money's being spent accordingly. But I also think that it is a good idea. I mean, Amarillo, this area already is a regional food hub. We produce a majority of the nation's beef, and I think it's important to attract industry and business to take advantage of that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mark. And Ms. Collier, I'll let you go first on your rebuttal.
Thank you. So I was actually at the city council meeting. I'm not for sure if you were there. I don't remember you being there. But after Laura Stores, is that her name? Okay.
Or Laura Street.
Laura Street. After she spoke, Mayor Cole Stanley did stand up there and he asked her to, or he asked one of the board members if they would show us the books, and that's actually when they stepped down. So, and that's on the minutes, so you can watch it.
All right, Mr. Stanley.
Yeah,
go
if
ahead.
I could, I think it's been proclaimed here that it's a blatant lie. And so let's look at that. Show us the transaction. The question, Mr. Herrick, is how did you come to possess a public asset? Did you buy it? Was it gifted to you? Is there a receipt for this? This is a public asset. I voted for a $100,000 membership fee. That was changed behind my back to a $750,000 wire transfer. No public meeting, no minutes, no vote, nothing was approved. I'm telling you, that's an unlawful action, and that is the fact. Everything else is smoke and mirrors from here talking about it. The reason this is the issue of the hour is because it's so blatantly wrong and bad, and not one time, no matter how many good people are involved, has anybody manned up and stepped forward and said, what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry, and I apologize to you, the taxpayer. It's your money, and we want to do the right thing. You have the opportunity to do the right thing. None of these are lies, or else you would just simply dispute it. You won't give us our board position back.
Yeah.
You won't show the books. You won't return the money. What are you willing to do?
We absolutely will give a board position back. The problem is, for 6 months, you haven't put in a permanent board to the AEDC. Instead, you've put your biggest donor into the position, and now you've got your one guy that's in there running it. You've put a forever board member. He didn't even apply for the position, but now you've put that in there, and you've empowered him to go down there and take $6 million out of the budget that was coming to the Panhandle, into Amarillo. This has become so bad that all of this is to politicize and to play gamesmanship at this point. And I'm worried at this point, honestly, because if you think that this is possession, you have never been on a board or a nonprofit entity or any sort of business. We have gotten to the point where we are mixing up terms, and I'm really worried that you either just don't understand it or you're just repeating the same lie. And because there's nobody that possesses a nonprofit.
Simply not true.
That's-
You possess control.
You don't possess it, Cole.
You possess
That's not
control.
how it works. That's not how anything works. You don't possess this. You are a city council
So you
board
do
member,
not
and
possess
you don't
control?
possess the,
Can
you
I
don't
say
possess the
something
city.
real quick?
Sure, go
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
I think that you're both intelligent men, and I think y'all need to sit back and think about the citizens that are being affected by this and really take a long, hard look at yourselves. And so then we can actually move forward, maybe together.
Let's move forward.
I would love
You're,
to.
you're willing to
forward.
give us our board position back. I'll take you up on that. We'll appoint a representative. The AEDC will appoint a representative. We're just the oversight body.
All right, let's close the books on that issue. We're running out of time. We only have about 3 minutes left, so I want to stick a little closer to the time, but this is another issue. Political action committees used to be something that we mainly saw on the national level. It seems they've been more active lately. Explain the good and bad that you see in that involvement about PACs that come along that donate money where the public might have a hard time finding out who's actually involved in those committees. I don't know, I'll start with you to answer the question.
Maybe we should create something where we see all of their books. I don't know that that will ever happen. The biggest thing with campaign donors is you don't always know who they're connected to or where that money's coming from, and that is really a big issue. You know, I personally feel like every person that runs for office should run on no money and only the citizens should give them a certain amount of money. But I know I'm, you know, the oddball out in that. But anyways, that's just me.
Mr. Herrick, go ahead.
Yeah, there's no doubt that political action committees are very, it's gotten a little bit crazy. It's gotten crazy not at just our level, but every level, right? And there's this balance between freedom of speech and then the ability to really run a good election at the end of the day. And frankly, I think the biggest problem is when you have a political action committee, by definition, should be a group of folks that are working towards one end. What we've landed in this election is political action committees that, again, are backed by only one person. So it's a committee of one that's out supporting these candidates. And in those cases, it just feels like that should be just reported directly to the candidate. And as long as you're reporting your information correctly and following the ethical rules that are out there, using real PACs, not ones that have been that aren't even functioning anymore, then there's probably a place for it. But it's when you cheat the rules, when you don't follow the ethical rules that are out there, that's when you really get into problems. And that's a little bit what we've seen in this election.
All right, Mr. Mark.
I think that campaign donors are important to campaign and shouldn't be an issue as long as you're transparent. But I think it's just important for any candidate to remember that no matter what, your donors should less matter than the people you represent.
All right, Mr. Stanley.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't like political action committees, and I've never taken any PAC money. I've specifically rejected it in the past because I think that if I am taking money from somebody, then I want to list that name of that individual. That's why they know my donor, and we're not working through PACs. The big issue is I'm running a positive race. You've never heard me say anything that was ever unfactual, non-truthful, or really even negative. Now, the actions that have happened here, especially with the range, are negative. They're negative for our community, but I've never attacked anybody. However, the attack ads that are out there, I don't approve those and I don't get to disapprove those. And what keeps me from doing that is a PAC. And so I would love it if candidates could actually get to run their own races. What we've had tonight's been great. The debate between Jason and myself has been really good. It's good for you guys to see that. All of the mailers that are annoying to everyone that come every day, and all of the negative things that I have to watch while me and my wife are trying to eat dinner, they're coming from his PAC committee. And yeah, he's right. It's not just one. I got one guy behind me. You got plenty. And it's big money against big money. But you represent the old establishment, and I represent the blue-collar worker. And that's up to them to decide who they want to run this city for another 2 years.
All right, we're up
Oh,
against the time right now, so I'm going to let everybody go around. We're going to give you each about 45 seconds. We've got to wrap this thing up in less than 4 minutes. Mr. Herrick, you're the first to offer your closing statement.
Okay, very good. Thank you, David. Look, we have to stop the chaos that's out there. And I think this is actually a great conversation because honestly, the biggest problem is we need to take the temperature down a little bit and make city government back to what it's supposed to be. And that's dealing with the issues that are in front of us and are at hand. We've gotten too distracted by firing city managers, by chasing off AEDC, by chasing different items out there. It's destroyed public trust, and it's a bad place to be. We can't have a bad government that we have right now. We have a situation where we have one person pulling the strings for all 5 city council people. Every decision is going through him for that. We can't have this puppet master system anymore. This is what you have to do as a voter, is to go in there and decide who's the best for each position out there.
All right,
Forget
and
these
I'm gonna have
slates
to cut
and
you
move
off
on.
right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stanley, you're next.
I would try to end on a positive note here, especially esteeming my colleagues and the people that are willing to put themselves out there. No matter who you put in this role, you have a monumentous task in front of you. None of these problems that we're all very aware of got like this in the last 2 years. It's not for a neglect over the last 6 to 12 months of not being able to get things done. The wheels of government move very slowly. And so I ask for your patience. There's been no previous mayor that got it all fixed in 2 years. I hadn't got it fixed either, but you've seen infrastructure improvements, you've seen public safety, historic raises and massive improvements over there. And so if you give us another 2 years, I sit on a strong team, we'll continue working just as hard for you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Collier?
I have a beautiful friend. Her name is Cassie, and she runs a community, Unity in the community. And she always tells people that, you know, she likes me because I'm not bought and paid for. And I'm not. Every dollar I have earned is from a citizen. And I would like to represent the citizens, and I want to be your voice. I want to hear your voice when you come in and talk to me. I would like to sit you down with the city manager and help get those issues addressed. I don't know what anybody else is going to do on this panel, but that's what I'm going to do, and I would be honored with your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collier. And Mr. Marr?
Well, I just want to say that I know that no matter who Amarillo chooses for mayor, that Amarillo will have a bright future ahead of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mark. And I want to say thank you to everyone out there who watched tonight. I appreciate all of the candidates coming here and offering your opinions. We hope this will help you make up your mind, and it will motivate you to go and cast your ballot. Your voice matters. Election day is May 3rd. Early voting starts April 22nd, and it ends April 29th. For all of us here at ABC 7, good night.